Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 15th of January, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at the dollar index. Dollar sinking really lower. The last few days, just a really big sell-off in the dollar. And yesterday and this morning's moves just taking us now below that low that we saw in September. We see it here on the daily chart. So that's highly significant. We spent 3 days below that level. There's about 91.20 on the dollar index. Then that's bearish the dollar. Remember, lower lows and lower highs. That's what we're seeing here. Had we gone the other way, that would have been a recovery. Now it's a breakdown, and we're seeing the downside target's been activated, just testing support at the moment. We're through support now clearly on the medium-term chart. That's a 0.5% point figure. The 1% chart we're just coming through. So lower dollar will have an impact. We're seeing that coming through into higher euro. Euro looking much higher now, back above 120 clearly, and we're at 122 this morning. So that's a significant move, taking again the September high that we saw. This is now taken out. That's improving, and so we're seeing strong euro around 124 is the targets to play for. That's about 1.3% upside. Japanese yen dollar is looking weaker here now as well. So it's really showing through on all the currencies, and sterling jumping against the dollar, showing again that weaker dollar. So sitting at 137.50 at the moment. So we're seeing this sort of clear recovery through on the long-term chart as well. Looking at sterling against the euro, not looking as strong here. Short term, we're still bearish. We've got downside targets. So it's all about euro strength, dollar weakness, and sterling sitting somewhere in the middle. Swiss franc, we're seeing sterling falling a little bit here as well, and against the Australian dollar, just coming back a little bit too. Hasn't managed to move through into bullish long-term position there. Bitcoin is looking more and more vulnerable as we nudge this 13,000 level. We've got downside targets to 7,500, so Bitcoin looking set for a breakdown really. Last week was another down week, and you can see here on this lower high, lower low pattern just showing through. So Bitcoin looking like it could almost halve in value now with those downside targets. The S&P 500 index looking strong. The Nasdaq also looking strong, and the Dow Jones also looking strong. On all of these indices, just a shortage of upside targets is the main concern. The Russell 2000 does still have upside targets, and that's a little bit more clear-cut than the other indices. Looking at the S&P future, up very slightly this morning in London. Nasdaq E-mini just also up very slightly. So hard to call which way the market will open in the US. FTSE 100 is down slightly this morning, rocked by the news of the Crude in the UK. But we're seeing here that we are still looking pretty bullish on the charts. Again, just a clear shortage of upside targets. The FTSE 250 also looking pretty strong. It's bullish on all three charts, but again, just a shortage of upside targets. The DAX down about 0.25% this morning. That stronger euro won't be helping the DAX, but it is still looking bullish on all three time frames. And the Nikkei also looking strong, despite a stronger yen this morning. Hang Seng still looks very bullish. Shanghai looks bullish still, and the Sensex, the Indian market, still looks very strong indeed. Australian market up as well, very slightly, but still bullish. The short-term chart just coming out a little bit of pressure for the Aussie market. Brent crude nudged that $70 level again this morning. Weaker dollar will be helping with all commodities really. Certainly things like crude and gold. WTI also looking strong. Brent, by the way, we've got targets into the 71 area, 71.30, 71.81 in the short term, and upside targets of 72 and 78 in the medium to long term. US nat gas holding that $3 level, but really just hitting a resistance level at around 320. This chart is just so choppy. The only way to trade gas at the moment is to trade the range. Taking a look at copper, copper's actually looking strong again. Weaker dollar probably helping there. Heating oil looking similar to crude. Coffee is still bearish below the cloud. Softs generally not looking as good. Cocoa is looking a little bit better short term, but still bearish medium long term. We're seeing things like cotton fell heavily on Friday. Looking at sugar, it's also bearish below the cloud. Wheat had a dramatic fall on Friday. Crops almost certainly ruined. There we see it's just amazing that big fall there on wheat, and then soybeans looking stronger. Corn also down and bearish below the cloud. Gold, of course, a big beneficiary of a weaker dollar, pushing now into the 1340s, 1341 this morning. We've got upside targets of 1349, 1359. We've moved very, very quickly off that December low. We've recovered $100 there. And if we break this 1360 level, we start to then activate further upside targets. And it won't be long, about 1380, where we would deactivate downside targets and we'd be left with three long-term upside targets. Gold is looking better and better all the time. Silver also starting to look a lot better. The medium-term chart just crossing to bullish. We do have bearish point and figure targets, and so silver doesn't look quite as good as gold. If we take a look at US Treasury yields, sitting on this 2.55%, nudging higher, really looking like we're going to break out to higher levels there. There's inflation returning there. Apple looking stronger. Google also looking at Apple, we were worried about because it was not making new highs, just starting to do that, so the relative strength returning there. Google looking strong. Amazon also looking strong. Facebook had quite a sell-off on Friday. I had weighted down on my Facebook holdings earlier in the week. Whilst we've got amazing upside targets, with 60% upside last year, it seemed time to take some money off the table. And Microsoft also looking strong still. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.